I want to welcome everyone and say thank you for attending the seminar on teenagers and anxiety, and for the parents that are here to help their own teenagers. I applaud you. I want you to know that every person has issues and challenges in their life, and that's because we're all human. It's normal that some people do some things really well and that others don't do the other things well. And that is all okay and good. My issues and challenges might be different from yours, and that doesn't make us bad or weak or a failure or any other negative word that you might think about. A little about me. I'm a mother of 4 beautiful, wonderful children. I was a foster parent for 8 years, and I'm now a behavioral therapist, helping children and teens and parents to manage their behaviors and their emotions. I'm going to show you a clip about Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, and I'd like you to observe what emotion you think he is feeling in the clip.
Penny.
What's up, Buttercup?
You have to get rid of the chair.
Nope.
Penny.
What's the word, Hummingbird?
For your safety, please wait in my apartment as I call the authorities so they may remove the chair of death.
No.
Penny.
What's the gist, physicist?
Under my authority as a self-appointed member of the Centers for Disease Control Street Team, these premises are condemned. As a man with a keen sense of style, I must tell you, that chair does not work with the room. Penny.
Can anybody tell me what emotion Sheldon was feeling in that clip? Anybody know? Frustrations, annoyance, worry, anxiety. Right, great. Can anyone give me an example of a time when they felt anxiety and what that felt like for them?
I can.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, I was giving a presentation at a school, and I arrived, I was getting paperwork ready, and one of the teachers, I was talking to them and I was holding some papers, and they noticed my hand was shaking. So I was actually nervous, I had anxiety, and my stomach felt a little bit tight. So I wasn't even consciously aware of it, but my body was giving signals that I was experiencing some anxiety before I gave a talk on anxiety.
Wow, that's great. For me, when I feel anxiety, my stomach gets wrapped into a ball. I find it really hard to focus or think. Often I have trouble sleeping. Sometimes my hand shakes as well. On a Global News website, Dr. Jean Clifton, a child psychiatrist, said that anxiety is the biggest symptom of overarching stress in teens. It burdens the youth, seeping into their daily lives. So you can see why I feel so passionately about helping teenagers with their anxiety, because it seeps into their lives in every way and affects their lives in a negative way. In my therapy, I often use a book called The Zones of Regulation, and it helps me to teach the parents and teens and children about regulating their emotions. The author, Lee Kuppers, said, "The zones can be used to help students to mediate their actions, which in turn leads to increased control in their emotions and problem-solving skills. When we feel anxiety, our brain and our body are put on alert. Self-regulation helps us to maintain a state where we can problem solve and control our feelings. So we're going to pretend that you are driving along in your car, and it's a very long drive and it's very boring. And the boring emotion is in the blue zone of the zones of regulation. It's blue because it's restful, it's low-key. So you're driving along, and then as you're driving along, suddenly you see that your favorite fast food restaurant is under construction. And so you go into the green zone, which is the optimal zone that you always want to be in. It's the happy zone, the good zone. Suddenly, you notice that there's a big puddle in the road from clouds of rain that have been pouring down. And you also notice that in the middle of the road are a whole bunch of frogs jumping all over the place. And it's right where you're about to go with the car. And so you swerve, and you feel a ton of anxiety and fear and worry about hitting these frogs. And then, as you swerve to miss the frogs, you crash into a lamppost, and you feel anger. And anger is the red zone. That's the zone you don't want to be in because you can't problem solve or sleep well or manage your emotions. So I'm going to teach you a technique that's called thinking about your thinking. So we're going to go back over this story, and I want you to tell me what was the first thought that you had as you were approaching the puddle in the story. What was the thought? You're approaching the puddle, you see the frogs.
Oh,
what are
no.
you thinking? Right. So
Trouble.
you think, oh no, trouble. And what's your emotion that you're feeling when you think, oh no, trouble?
Scared.
Scared. And scared is another word for anxiety. Okay. And then you have a feeling. So the feeling was that you're feeling scared and anxiety. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. And what was your behavior in the story? You saw it, you thought, oh no, trouble, you feel anxiety and scared, and then what did you do?
Swerve.
You swerved, awesome. So you swerve, and that's not a behavior that you want. You don't want to be swerving and hitting the lamppost. So another way this story could go is if you were thinking about your thinking, you see the slippery road and the frogs on the road. And you feel the anxiety. You feel a little anxiety. But then you stop and you think about your thinking. You think, is this really as bad as I think it is, that these frogs are on the road and that I'm slipping? And you get your emotions in control from that thought. And that changes how you feel. Initially you feel a little anxiety, but then you realize that it's kind of funny that there's frogs on the road. In fact, it's ridiculous. When are there are a ton of frogs on the road? And you start laughing and smiling. And in the calm state that you're in then, you can not hit the lamppost and swerve gently around the frogs. So you see how in this story, in both stories, there's a progression of the emotions. You go from bored, you go to happy, then you're in yellow, which is the anxiety state, and then you're in red. And we want to, thinking about our thinking will help us to stay in the green zone. If we are able to stop it at the thought and the feeling before we go to the behavior, we can control our emotions better. Knowing the zones can help us recognize and regulate and stay in a calm state. A website, Anxiety BC, said, thoughts lead to feelings. When you have an anxiety thought, stop and think about your thoughts. Question yourself. Why do you feel this way? Is this realistic? Is the situation as bad as I think it is? When you stop thinking and feeling, your behavior changes. You are in the green zone. You feel happy and good. Are there any questions about what I've shared so far? Okay. I have a handout that I would like to pass around. I'll pass this handout around. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. This topic is a topic that I feel really passionate about, and I hope that that you will review the handout. It has lots of helpful tips for teenagers with anxiety, and if the parents want to have a consult with me after, I'd be happy to talk to them more. The Zones of Regulation is a great book. I highly recommend that you purchase it, and it will help you and your team with managing their behavior and thoughts and feelings. Thank you.